So the AAF is dead. Here's your 5 reasons about why it wasn't even good enough for life support. So like and subscribe and hate and comment below. First off, you don't have to be great. You just have to be entertaining. Yeah, the AAF wasn't entertaining enough. Now, I know what you're saying, but it was never going to be the NFL. Okay, but college football is entertaining. It's not the NFL. And I know what you're thinking, Southern football fan. Oh, we're better than the NFL. Yeah, really. Yeah, you're not. Okay, you're entertaining, but there's a reason why in the Northeast that I could argue only Michigan, which has a team kind of near it, Detroit, which is always awful, does the college team, if they're any good, is they're not around a pro team because college football players kind of don't want to be competing against the pro team. And for the most part, college football isn't good football, but it's entertaining football. And it's only good football for the top. If you're in that 20 and below, yeah, you're entertaining because you're winning. Okay? Don't go to University of North Texas and tell me that that thing is full every week. It's not. There's 120 franchises and maybe 30 of them are full, and some of them, like the University of Miami, are only full when you're undefeated and have a chance to win. In the NFL, what are we talking about? The Jacksonville Jaguars and the LA Chargers that have problems filling a stadium? It's because they're good, but they're also entertaining. AAF wasn't. Now, one of the reasons why it wasn't entertaining is because they tried a bunch of innovations that just didn't work. So when you talk about other football leagues that had innovations, the AFL, the one that would merge with the NFL, well, it was a much more passing league. We also did have a 2-point conversion, though it took a very long time to adopt it. I'm going to skip over the World Football League because I don't really. It was before I was born. I don't remember much about it historically of being entertaining, but I do know the USFL did have the 2-point conversion, did have the challenge rules, basically what we use in the NFL today. It was basically in a bunch of markets that didn't have a team other than, say, LA, Houston, and Giant Stadium. The XFL had Skycam. And arena football, because of the nature of the sport, had a lot of close-up hits. And the World League of American Football did adopt the 2-point conversion, expanded it, and it came off. What were the AAF's innovations? The one thing I thought that could have worked, but proved to why it was a bad idea, was the ref and the instant replay booth person talking to each other. They're not entertaining because they're trying to do their job. Now, when you're talking about the commentators with the, former NFL refereeing guru, that's entertaining banner. This part wasn't. The no onside kick. I hope the NFL never goes through with a no onside kick, or at least the no kickoff. Maybe this 4th and 10 thing could work, but we'll never know because I don't think there was one in the AAF. But the no kickoff, just, you know what, most of the time it may end up with a touchback, but at least it can be an entertaining play. And the no extra point, you had to go for 2. Now, there was no overtime, so you never actually saw if the overtime rules would have worked. And quite frankly, always going for 2 kind of takes the enjoyment out of that as well. Now, the third thing is this is really just hard to form a professional sports league, especially when it's minor league. So forgetting about, leagues that are, very unique to their, basically a new league, right? So getting a new sport like Australian Football League or Indian Premier Soccer or Indian Premier Cricket, right? You get a lot of headaches when you're talking about minors, okay? What minor leagues or what, I'll say, conditional leagues have existed that are still around 40 years later, right? In the last 40 years, what do we have? Because arena football came and is basically gone. There's 6 teams left after being at 20. You got the G League, which is supported by the NBA, And we'll see what happens as NBA teams if they decide to cut those shoestrings off. AHL, which has been older than 40 years. The NHL has taken a greater ownership in it. And the only minor hockey league beyond that to exist is the ECHL. And again, that's because other NHL owners have kind of come in there and kind of owning it. They're tired of seeing teams just come and go from folding and not make any money, from quick investors who, I didn't make any money, I'm gone. That's all you got, right? You need to have that ownership. Well, the AAF wanted to be this feeder league. Well, did they forget that WLAF, NFL Europe, NFL Europa was that feeder league owned by the NFL and it failed? So they needed to have a lot more money, and that's the other reason why a lot of leagues die, is because they didn't have their financial capitalization. Now, they lied to people and said that they did, but then in the second week, checks might have bounced. That's pretty embarrassing for a league that, had a lot of high-named coaching talent. I mean, Spurrier doesn't come off the bench for cheap. He was basically retired. Denny Green, or I think it was Danny Green. He might be dead. But there's a lot of other coaches there who were like, hey, I'm a big name guy. Dennis Erickson. He won some, championships for the Canes. It takes a lot of money to get that 60-year-old off his butt and to coach a bunch of guys who couldn't make the CFL. They didn't have their money until they did, right? They get the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes of the NHL to pony up $350 million, we were told. And then, well, it wasn't exactly that. And he had an alternative motive. And the fifth and final reason is, just because you want to win a sport doesn't mean that the owner or the player or anybody else wants to win that sport. So all these guys in the AFL who were playing, their goal wasn't to win the AAF championship. Their goal was to get to the NFL. So did they really care if they, were the best talent in the league? Yeah, they wanted to be the best talent, but they also wanted to impress some owner that they could make it on an NFL roster or CFL roster. To the coaches, some of them just wanted a job. They wanted to be around the players. They're in their 60s. They coached in college and the pros, and they're there. But some of these assistants and trainers, they want the big gig. And ultimately, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes had an alternative motive, as it turned out. The AAF's one great innovation was not on the field. It was in a gambling app. Now, you could literally bet on every single play, whether it was going to be run or pass. And the technology and the instant catches and the graphic models that they were showing on this app, he wanted it. And he could get it if he, owned the AAF. That's the asset that he wanted. And once he got it, these guys, they want to make a minor league, and it's small potatoes, to quote the former owner of the New Jersey Generals, a man who what did he end up doing? Oh yeah, he's the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Call it small potatoes, the ownership of a USFL team. That was kind of what the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes was doing, because he already owns a pro team that's won a championship. And he probably would love to own the Carolina Panthers one day. The AAF, you know what? He got what he needed. He's got that good gambling app. They'll repackage it. They'll make money off the pros in the NFL or some other sport. And that's it. So the AAF is dead. We'll see if the XFL can survive one season next year. And by the way, the AAF wasn't the only league to fold this week. You also had the death of the Canadian Women's Hockey League, another pro league that, again, it's hard to start a league. Going to the 1980 model, what has survived? Well, English Premier League, if you want to call it a brand new league, because it was a whole reconstruction of English soccer. The Continental Hockey League in Russia. The G League, the WNBA, even though it's definitely off of its high horse. I guess you could say the Reno Football League, even though it went from 20 teams to 6. You've had a few minor lacrosse leagues that are, have big names in their title, but not exactly there yet. And Major League Soccer. And that's about it. Leagues come and go. And fortunately, the AAF is gone with it.